thank you guys for welcoming us, because anywhere we can talk about BrainTap, we are there. So first, I'll give you a little backstory about Transcendence Wellness Center. You know, my personal backstory of why I even got into this field of psychology and the brain and, you know, metaphysics and all this stuff was basically because, you know, I had a childhood, which we all did, yes. And the childhood that I had left me, you know, not knowing how to have healthy relationships, not knowing how to take care of myself, not having a good, strong mental attitude about myself and my future. And like a lot of us, we just kind of jump into the world and we hope that our education is going to take us where we want to be in our lives. And what we find out a lot of the times is the way that we see ourselves gets in the way of that. And so what I want to do tonight is talk a little bit about the brain, but the reason why we opened Transcendence Wellness Center was because as I started my journey in, 15 years ago, I was a nutritionist. And I thought that I was going to heal the world through nutrition. And my master's degree is actually biochemistry. And I thought that I could fix everybody, including myself, with just giving them the right supplements and the right diet. And I quickly realized that you don't follow a food plan when you're depressed or when you're stressed out or when you lost your job or something like that. Something else takes over. And so you're having to use willpower for a lot of things in your life that normally should be slightly easy. And so what I did was I switched gears and I dove deep into psychology. And I started learning a lot about the subconscious and the unconscious and the brain and how the brain talks to the body through hormones. And what I realized is there was all this other conversation going on in my life besides my conscious awareness, like what I chose to do versus what I ended up doing at the end of the day. How many of you guys set out for the day wanting to make really good choices throughout your day with, say, your diet or exercise or not following certain patterns that you know are not healthy for you, and you end up halfway through the day not even remembering that you made that agreement with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And this is what happens is because your conscious awareness is only conscious for about 6 to 8 seconds. That's your conscious attention span, which means I've already lost you guys several times, okay? So in your conscious awareness, you have 6 to 8 seconds of conscious awareness, which means that you're thinking about what I'm saying, but then you're thinking about something that happened and you're thinking about what's going on tomorrow, which leaves what running your life? Subconscious. So your subconscious is running 24 hours a day programs of who you've been and what you've been up until this point. So how you see yourself is basically the story that your brain body is telling constantly. And what that is who you've been in your family, who you've been at work, who you are with money, who you are with your time, how you see life, who you are with religion, who you are with politics, fill in the blank. So basically, as you're consciously saying, yeah, I want to raise my company's morale, your body is saying, I really just want to go high. And so what happens is this brain-body connection gets really distorted, and we end up living lives that are not to our greatest, highest potential. And we live a life that we are desiring what we want, but a lot of times we settle for less. We settle for being an employee instead of a CEO. We settle for being sick instead of well, because again, willpower is what we need usually in order to get well. And the willpower is not there when the emotional piece or the subconscious piece is running old stories. So everybody in this room have a smartphone? Okay, so you understand the concept of having apps on your phone, yes? And the more apps you have on your phone, the slower your phone runs, yes? And it starts to take up a lot of memory, starts to take up a lot of space. Well, your brain has tons of apps open all the time. There's an app of who you've been in your childhood, who you were in your last relationship, who you are in this relationship. And in the back of your mind, these programs are running constantly and they're slowing you down. Anybody in this room have fatigue? Yes. Okay, so fatigue, what it does is it's processing too much energy at a subconscious level, and it's making your adrenal glands, your thyroid, and your whole body tired, because basically there's 3 thinking minds. There's your conscious awareness, there's your subconscious running all of your programs, right? And then there's your unconscious of things that you're not even aware of. Have you ever just walked into a moment and had a memory of something you haven't thought about in 20 years just resurface, and you're like, where did that come from? So in those 3 levels of your mind, 3 different stories are constantly playing, and you're trying to navigate a successful life. And this is all starting in your brain. Your brain is the highway of information to the rest of your body. Now, if there was a chiropractor here, he would say it's all about the nervous system. But I would say, what talks to the nervous system? The brain. It all starts in the brain. It's your biological computer. It's where all your apps are running. And when you came into this life, you had this brain that was open to learn, which means it took you a while to walk. But then when you learned to walk, did you have to teach yourself to walk every day? No. Did you have to learn to tie your shoes every day? No. Very soon it became automatic, right? And when things become automatic, they move into the subconscious. How many negative patterns do you have in your subconscious that are running throughout your day, just like tying your shoes, that you're not even aware of, right? How many of you have like just been tired or hungry or kind of out of your mind, and you all of a sudden start channeling your parents? Like, I sounded just like my dad when I said that, right? All of a sudden you have become someone else's voice by just being a little bit unaware in that moment. And I'm not asking all of you guys to go on a spiritual journey here. What I'm asking you to do is to look at your life and ask yourself, am I living my highest level of potential? Because if you're not, the only thing that is in your way is the relationship between your mind, body, and soul, and really it starts in the brain. And if we can change the brain, rewire the brain, because the brain is technically plastic, and if your brain learned how to automatically tie shoes and walk and drive a car and ride a bike and crave chocolate and all the things that it learned how to do, then at any given moment we can rewire that brain back to its original blueprint so that you can be the fullness of who you came to be. Now, all of the leaders talk about this type of brain reentrainment. You know, we're hearing lots of gurus out there talking about this, because at the central point of everything is you cannot be more than you've been. Which means that if you're not more than you've been, you've got to change who you are into who you choose to be. Does this make sense? So how do we rewire the brain? Well, we rewire the brain by practice, right? Somebody said, oh, you can create a new pattern in 21 days of constantly practicing. That's old school and no one has time for that. Usually by 3 days you've given up, you forgot what you were practicing, you stopped going to the gym, you know, all the vegetables are decaying in your refrigerator, and you are, you know, in the drive-thru. And so what happens is if you take too long to practice, you will fall back into your old patterns. So what we want to do is we want to manually override old programs. We want to start turning off apps. We want to close the chapter of childhood. We want to close the chapter of the loss of losing grandma or something like that. Not leave the memories and the love that we have, but we want to turn off the trauma. Because what I'm talking about today is actually trauma. Anytime your brain body has experienced trauma, it will hold a marker. Everybody familiar with the concept of PTSD? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Everyone in this room has PTSD. And I'm not comparing or belittling our veterans, but what I'm saying is if you had a childhood, you have PTSD. And what that means is any sort of trauma, emotionally, physically, or chemically, alters brain waves. And a part of you freezes in time during that trauma event. And what happens is you think you're living your life after that moment, but have you noticed what we call the trigger? The trigger is when all of a sudden you're going throughout your day and somebody talks to you in a tone and you totally get triggered, and all of a sudden you're back in the 4th grade where the bully was on the playground. And so that is technically what's happening, is your brain is still locked in trauma, and so we have these series of traumas lined up that affect us from moving forward, being confident, feeling worthy, you know, taking care of our health, taking care of our lives. And so that's what's stopping. So Transcendence Wellness Centers has basically opened internationally to help resolve all forms of trauma. And that's where we even came to find the BrainTap device. When we opened our center, we did not have BrainTap. And I was doing a lot of counseling and a lot of PTSD work and a lot of life coaching, and it was a long process until we found BrainTap. And so what BrainTap actually does is it's using light and sound technology to rewire the brain back to its original blueprint, back to who you came to be before life told you who you should be. Following me? And so what it does is it actually alters brain waves that are in a neural pathway that have a signal, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, right? I'm not healthy. All of these inner voice conflicts that are going on in the mind that you don't even know are running because it's like an app. So what it does is it begins to shut that down, and it begins to rewire the brain back to blueprint status. But there's so many more things that the BrainTap offers, because it's not just rewiring the brain back to its original blueprint. We're going to put a new story in. We're going to use awakened state theta-based hypnosis, which is going to now put in a positive program. And this is not brainwashing, I promise you. I have my children doing this. What it is it's basically an affirmation. Everybody familiar with the concept of affirmation? You know, like, I'm safe. Believe it or not, your safety affects a lot of things in your life. When anybody comes to me with money problems or weight issues, they've got a root safety issue. And I'm going to work on that root safety issue with them. I know I can put them on BrainTap, and they're going to work through their safety issue through BrainTap, and their brain is going to start telling their body that they're safe. Their immune system clicks back on, the metabolism clicks back on, the thyroid calms down, the blood sugar regulates, and the body starts to work properly. Because believe it or not, your brain-body connection, what you're thinking, constantly affects the health of your body. If you're walking around saying, I'm not safe, then your body's going to prove that to you. Because your body is just a faithful servant to whatever the brain says. So what we want to do is we want to get to a place of awareness where we can manually take back our own power and train our brain and rewire our brain back into its central point, and then give it a new command so that all of a sudden, I'm drinking water every day. Anybody who's been on BrainTap, the first thing that they say is, I just drank water all day. You know, and I haven't drank water in years, because again, one of the things is your body and brain starts to communicate again, and you realize how thirsty you are. And the body has no idea that it's thirsty, because it's replaced thirst with hunger or stress or video games or shopping or all of these other things that give the body the instant gratification. You guys following me? So that's usually the first thing. Another thing that they notice after 3 days on the BrainTap, or 3 sessions, I'll say, is a sense of calm in a normal storm. And what I mean like that is when you're in a stressful situation, you're just calmer than you normally would be. And this is a very subtle change that most people don't really make an association with, but they notice that they feel calmer in a stressful situation. Now, I know that there's great drugs on the market that pretend to do that, but wouldn't that be awesome if you could literally just show up at work and have a challenge? Because I can't stop challenges from your life. I can help you see those challenges and feel through those challenges differently, which is all we can expect. And we call it, BrainTap is like being the eye of your storm. Because no matter what's going on around you, your body won't go into a panic attack. It won't have the anxiety that it's used to having. Because really, the reason why we have anxiety attacks, depression, anxiety, all this stuff, is because the body and the brain don't know how to deal with the stress intake. So we're using TV, we're using food, we're using all these things to calm the body down, because the brain doesn't know how to deal with the stress. Does that make sense? And so going through the process of rewiring the brain, it is a form of meditation, basically. And what meditation is it stops the constant bombardment of information that's going through the body. Anybody in this room done a fast? Yes? Okay. So what does a fast do for the body? It basically stops the process of constant information coming through food, and it gets the body to reset. That is the purpose of meditation, is a reset. Anybody in this room have that problem with their computer sometimes where the only thing that works is to totally shut down? Turn it off and turn it back on. That is how I would define meditation. It is not some woo-woo spiritual thing. It is a reset for your whole entire biological system. And this device puts the brain into meditative state within 2.5 minutes. So even if you're a constant overthinker and you've got the monkey mind and you've got the chaos and you've got the stress, your brain will manually be put into meditation with light and sound. See, light and sound alter brainwaves. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking you out of fight or flight, which you're normally in all day long, and that's why you're tired, and bringing you into the brainwave called theta. And theta is actually going to bring you into a higher state of awareness, but a much greater sense of peace. Everybody want peace in this room, right? Because we all have crazy lives. I know I do. I have 4 kids. I got a grandbaby coming. It's like there's a lot of things going on. And I need to have peace in all of that chaos and be able to navigate my life in the direction that I choose instead of being in the riptide of my life. Because most of us feel like we're in the riptide instead of surfing the waves. So basically what it's doing is it's giving you the ability to navigate your life without constant willpower. Anybody have been able to successfully do anything long-term with just willpower? Because Because what you're doing is you're fighting a neural pathway. Make sense? Does anybody have any questions so far?
Well, one of the questions, did you guys find it, or did you guys invent it?
We did not invent it. The inventor is Dr. Patrick Porter, and he's a PhD who's been working on this technology for 25, 30 years. And the reason why I got my hands on it was because it's the most cutting edge product on the market as far as brain reentrainment, and it also works on the nervous system. And so basically, I'll just kind of show it to you a little bit. You can see the lights, yes? Mm-hmm. All right. The lights in the eyes are going to sync up with the music that's playing. And the music that's playing is going to go from the left to the right hemisphere, because you've got two sides of you, right? Left and right brain. And sometimes for people who are very logical, their right brain is a little inactive. And people who are really like living in the clouds, their left side is a little bit inactive. So what it's going to do is it's going to build the balance back, which is what we all need to have balance. And that's going to sync up with the eyes. And the eye lights are going to go into sync with also the affirmations. So all of a sudden, the brain is processing information, and all of a sudden it halts, and it starts to process the information that it's being given. The same way that your brain does when you watch TV. So as soon as you've been watching TV for about 10 seconds, your brain syncs up to the frequency of what you're watching. That's why when your kids are running around and all of a sudden the TV comes on, they're like, okay, they go right into hypnosis, which is basically what's happening is because their brain has synced up with the technology. So your brain is going to sync up with this too, but it's going to be a bypass of habits and normal routines, which is exactly what you guys need, we all need, if we're ever going to live our highest excitement and our highest joy. And so the lights in the ears, anybody have acupuncture done in this room? Yes? Okay, so what is acupuncture? Acupuncture is placing needles in certain body points on the meridian system to release energy and emotional flow. Because you have a web-like material in your body, right, called meridians and fascia, and that is holding all of your emotional garbage, right? You've heard maybe chi when you hear that word, chi, or balance. And so when you get acupuncture done, what's happening is those needles are actually going in and releasing that energy and that tension where the emotional charge is in the body. Now, if you're like me, you don't really like needles being in your body, so this device will actually do the same thing because your meridian systems are all connected in the ears. So what happens is these lights that are lighting up in the ears will start to command to let this meridian system heal, which means all that garbage that you've got in your emotional storage banks will begin to heal and process. You'll get a little warming in your ears, a little sensation, and most people when they're done having a session, they feel like they've had a massage. Because that's technically what's happening is your whole body is being relaxed from the inside out. So it's basically 5 levels of healing. We've got light and sound technology that's going to rewire and repattern the brain. We've got the affirmation and the hypnosis piece that's going to now download the new, advanced, higher level of self-love information into the brain. We've got the meridian work, which is going to be the equivalent of having an acupuncture session. And then what we've got is the nervous system stimulation that gives the whole body peace. So in 20 minutes a day, basically what you're doing is you're taking your life back. And you're getting healing, and you're getting nervous system balancing, and you're getting an acupuncture session, and you're getting hypnosis, and you're getting your brain rewired. And I will tell you that this device has helped change my life as a child of abuse. And it has helped Susie overcome several different mindsets. Everybody's heard of belief systems, but do you understand what a mindset is? A mindset is your mind is set to believe something, which means I have a mindset about money, I have a mindset about religion, I have a mindset about my body. And these things are really difficult to change. And so Susie, what she's actually done is she's used BrainTap to clear and heal her mindset around a phobia that she had with water. Lose 25 pounds, because believe it or not, your weight is a mindset. And to help her with her menopause, right, because we know that that's a mindset. The body goes into a program when it goes into menopause, and we can actually bypass what would normally be occurring by changing the way the brain and body talk to each other.
So do we buy that, or do we go to an office?
Well, basically the way that we're talking today is we have a wellness center, and we don't have the BrainTap set up for you to come into our center anymore. We've moved internationally, and we just teach. Oh. And you can have them in your home. I mean, I have one for me and all my kids, and we use it every day. at least most of the time. And what we're using that for is daily use, but you can, if you have a business, you can have it in your business. There's lots of different business aspects. So if anybody's interested in the business side, or the retail side, or just having a session, all it takes is 3. Give it 3 sessions and you will be totally hooked, because you'll start to see the subtle changes of feeling calmer, drinking your water, and sleeping better. That's what you're first going to notice in your first 3 sessions. And then over time, they're set up in 700 different programs where we can teach the brain anything we need to teach the brain. So there's sports performance, there's sales performance. Anybody in here have to deal with sales in their business? Right? Did you know that sales is a mindset? People are either good at it or they're not. And we can rewire the brain and put you into a mindset that you are a good salesperson. We can put you into a mindset of what a thin body feels like and looks like, and all of a sudden your brain now needs to talk to your hormones and tell your body that you are thin. And that is something that you need to be doing during the duration of the program, and each program has a different length of time. We've got PTSD programs, we've got childhood abuse programs, we've got autism programs because we can actually help kids go back to school without paras, rewiring their brains, extrasensory issues, grief issues. Susie, I need you on this because I'm not sure of all the programs, but there's a whole consciousness series. And what other series do we have?
Pain.
Pain, yes. How the body deals with
There's
pain.
an entire health series.
Tire health series.
IBS,
Tire disease series.
cancer recovery.
Diabetes.
So does it help with like if you have an autoimmune disease? So how does that work?
Well, autoimmune is, so when I work with autoimmune, usually what I want to do is I want to find a lot of the emotional roots, because when the immune system decides to turn off and attack itself, it's usually coming from some sort of trauma in the past, chemical, physical, or emotional. And what I've noticed with a lot of my clients, including myself, I healed myself completely of autoimmune disease. And it was actually caused by intense amount of stress and trauma in earlier years. Because in order for a body's nervous system and immune system to shut down, there has to be a lot of mind patterns playing out. So what we would do is we would actually go in and we would do the stress relief first. And then we would create a program for the autoimmune that was based around that client's specific needs and build a program for them with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's BrainTap. It's simple science. This is what technology is all about. It's the fast forward button. We all want the instant gratification. And go ahead.
Sorry, one more question. So if you meditate normally, like I try to meditate and do all that kind of stuff, if you're doing that in conjunction with that, does it kind of help you get it?
You'll go faster.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get faster, you'll get deeper. And if you're already meditating, there's a whole conscious series where there's advanced meditations where you can do chakra clearings and very advanced spiritual
There's just some days it's harder than others where you
Right.
just can't seem to get into it.
Yeah. And if you're getting into it, what is the intention of that meditation? Because again,
Just my brain stop.
Right. Yes. And just hitting that Control-Alt-Delete for a little bit. Yeah. And that's really good, and that will keep your body healthy. But if you want your body to take it past to who you've been before you've been, then you're going to have to do some brain reentrainment. A lot of times, I'm not saying you have to, I'm saying it'll help you go faster.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
wondering, because there's some days where it's like, okay, I'm not getting anywhere here.
Yeah. I personally did the Wealth series because I have 4 kids and I have my own company, and I had a lack mindset growing up. My parents were poor. I had nothing. So even though I worked really, really hard in my 20s and 30s, things were just enough. I never got to that bigger point with my finances, and I said, this has to be coming from a mindset because I'm putting in 60 hours a week. And so I started doing the MindFit. Susie and I actually both did the MindFit Wealth series when we opened our first center, and within 14 months we opened our second center. And so we know that the brain can change the way it sees money and sees everything in its perspective, and it can change because as soon as your brain tells you how something is, the body starts to follow. And believe it or not, your body is a living magnet. And so you're going to be attracted to the things that you want or attracted to things that you don't want, and it's all starting in the brain.
I have a question. When using that product or that device, if you have somebody that has a skeptic type of personality, I think also, I think it kind of seems like it will go, because I've used it.
Cool.
Right? So I'm just saying that it'll sometimes, if you have that mindset going in, and you fall asleep or something, you feel like you're falling asleep.
Good, yeah.
And when you wake up, you're like, okay, well, I feel good. But then you start doing things. Like maybe the first thing you'll start drinking water.
Right.
And you're like, wow, this is a little bit weird.
Yeah, you don't need to be conscious.
Yeah,
And we love it when you fall asleep.
But what happens if you fight that part of it though?
Fight the after fact or fight
Fight when you're going through it.
It's okay. Because you can fight all you want because you're fighting consciously. We're working in the behind the scenes in the subconscious, and the subconscious is just a recording device that's starting and stopping constantly depending. And what this is going to do is you could be literally saying, I hate this, I don't want to hear this guy's voice, I want to choke someone out. And while that's happening behind the scenes, the brain is literally going into meditation, and it will fight a little bit. Because think about it, sometimes letting go is not safe. Sometimes stopping your thoughts have not been safe. Especially if you've had a life full of trauma, you've had to be on edge, you've had to go, you've had to be in fight or flight. And when you're not in fight or flight, the body gets really scared. And so anybody who experiences that, oh, I can't do this in the beginning, we know that they've had a lot of trauma. And so we just start slower with them, maybe without the words. We start with just the music. And what we do is we let that subconscious know that it's safe to turn off the brain. It's safe to turn off the mind. Like no one's going to come attack you. And that would be the only reason why anybody doesn't like the BrainTap the first experience. But we usually try to have that conversation before we just throw someone on a device. You know, if they're highly stressed out, if they've got huge levels of pain, I'm not going to put Dr. Porter's voice on you because you'll be like, but if I put light music, then all of a sudden your body is just in a relaxed state like getting a massage. And then we can build up to the single voice and double voice, and then we can work into the advanced work that it has.
Can children use this?
Children can use this. Depending on their attention span. So my 4-year-old's not quite ready, but my 10-year-old uses it every day as part of her homeschool program. And my 21-year-old and my 19-year-old are using it for school, anxiety, stress, navigating their own self-identity, self-love. I mean, that's a big one at that age group.
I'd like to add my daughter had a baby last week, and I know some of you, there are pictures on Facebook. I actually had her doing the BrainTap while she was in active labor, and she was pushing while she had the Zen music going on and the lights in her ears.
Well, and also, I will tell this story because her daughter was having a lot of health issues and started to go into premature labor 10 weeks early. So Susie actually flew out to Albuquerque and brought her a device in the hospital, and it stopped her labor. So, because again, that stress point will just put the body into overload. So that was really cool, yeah. Yeah, so anybody else have any questions? And if you have anybody else in mind that wants to learn more, feel free to always put them into contact with Susie and I if you don't feel like you can handle the technical questions or the skeptics, because we have a way that we can talk to anybody on their level wherever they are, if they're totally non-believers. There's also, probably 1,000 pages of clinical research on this product. We have a clinical research development going on right now at KU Med for our veterans because we're creating a whole PTSD process for them. It is the one thing that is working for them, without drugs, without anything else, and it's helping them start to go back in their families and heal their bodies and basically take back their life. So we're big believers. Yes.
If you have flex accounts or health savings accounts, oftentimes they will cover it depending on the reason that you're purchasing it. And that's coming to an end this year, as far as your flex accounts. It's kind of use the money or lose the money. So.
Yeah.
So how do we get a hold, if I have a friend or something I want to have call you, how do we
just call Transcendence Wellness Center. Susie will give you the card.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you have a business that you would like to,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and if you have a business that you want to integrate BrainTap into, we're getting a lot of car dealerships are interested in this for meditation and sales performance, where we can have them do their wellness programs. Because again, think about it, it saves billions of dollars in insurance when you're healthy. So if you have anybody in mind that would want to know, or have Susie and I come out and do a presentation, then we can do that as well. So, well, thanks for inviting us today. If anybody else has any questions, then I guess we're wrapped up.
Question?
Okay, I had cancer and I did chemotherapy and I got neuropathy from it in my feet and doesn't seem to be going away.
Okay?
But does it help with that?
Mhm.
Or, okay.
Yeah, we'd probably sit down with you and just kind of go over your symptoms and go over your stress level and go over, what your body's constantly having to deal with and see where we can eliminate stress first. Sometimes just eliminating stress allows drugs to work better. It allows that sleep to happen. If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. So that's one thing that I want you guys to all know. If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. That's why when you do the brain tap and you fall asleep, that's a good thing. Because that's getting you into a deep sleep that you haven't really been in for a while. So we would just have to talk to you about that.
I do have a question. Well, like I said, I have the device, and I know that someday my iPhone's going to change to a non-look.
Yeah.
Is that,
There's going to be a converter.
there's going to be a converter?
We've already
that
talked
can
to
do
Porter about
wireless,
it. Yep.
wireless unit.
Yeah, it'll be like the converter that goes into the earphone converter that goes into, yeah, we're on it.